Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Happy weekend, everybody. Checking in on the Canadian MJ sector. We'll do the US MJ video in the near-term future. I left some of the drawings up on my charts from the last video that we did because they are playing out worthy enough to keep an eye on. So for CGC, pretty much the Friday end of the week, we saw a lot of consolidation in the sector. We saw consolidation in the S&P 500, and in my opinion, definitely relation to those two events. And we saw Crom pull back really hard from its after-hours bonanza earlier in the week. No follow-through for the bulls whatsoever, and we'll get to that in just a second. But in the end, consolidation as we look for higher lows to form on Canadian MJ names. So CGC, the 12-period exponential resistance on the daily time frame. We had 3 pullbacks just under that level. We know that we're bouncing from the low, and we're just looking for a daily lower high. So we were watching for the potential of another rejection from that resistance level. So far, that is the case. No real red flags on this consolidation. Again, the best case scenario of what the bulls are looking to do is to hold the low of 18, make that 1789, and then see continuation. Because if that daily trend change occurs, we will get over these daily exponential resistances for the first time in quite some time, over a month. So that's the most important factor. We need an hourly trend change back for the bulls to tell us that the daily higher low has been established. Pull back all Friday morning, bounce just looking for an hourly lower high. If we're going to set a daily higher low very quickly, that means on Monday we have to hold 1961, pull back a little bit, and then break 2035 to change the hourly trend. If we can pull that off real quick, then the bulls will be looking at the potential of some more follow through. The closer we get down to 1789, then the better the risk to reward scenario of a potential bottom fishing play off that level. Again, reminding ourselves, no matter what kind of trade game plan we take, can we drop to lower lows under 1789? Absolutely, and that's the answer for every single individual name that we're going to look like. When the question is, can we drop to lower lows? The answer is yes. So, my kind of ideal scenario, if I'm looking to be an aggressive bull and looking to look for an entry off of 1789, I would like to see hourly oversold conditions. So if we were to drop down under 1961 and then get to hourly oversold conditions, let's say that happened in the low $19 range or the upper $18 range, and then looking for an entry with a play off of 1789 support. So I have yet to determine what I'm going to be looking to do. All I know is I had no interest in MJ names on Friday, and I'm going to be patiently watching. And if I see a setup that I like with good risk to reward, then I might take it. But as far as where we stand in this moment, nothing is jumping out at me saying, I want to make this play on Monday. Although actually there is one name jumping out at me, and it's not on the list right now. So we got to add VFF, and we'll get to that eventually. So APHA. APHA, as we know, after the big gap up on earnings, same thing as last time, faded with no follow through. If we are going to see any kind of convincing action, and again, I can hate APHA as a company, which I don't at this point, and I never have, I just didn't like the chart, but I can hate the company, I can hate anything about it, but if I am bullish any name in the Canadian MJ space, I want to see APHA change this daily trend. With the inverse head and shoulders pattern, we have to hold a low of 423 and turn around and break the double top at 554 and 553. If that happens, it's the first daily trend change in about 2 months, 6 weeks almost, 6 to 8 weeks, and that would be a notable shift in momentum. If that does not happen, the bulls lose yet again, and we are going to be looking back down at the potential of lower lows on APHA. So that is the must. We must change the hourly trend for the daily higher low to form. Again, pulled back all Friday morning, just to bounce for a lower high into the end of the day Friday. And we have to see an hourly trend change for the daily higher low to be established and to be setting our sights back on 554 resistance. ACB, weak bounce attempt, weak close on Friday. The low of 340. What's the percentage drop needed before we drop to a lower low? 7%. And again, if ACB drops to a lower low and I'm trading CGC, that's going to impact my decision making. That's going to increase the odds that CGC can drop to a lower low as well. So that's going to be important. We just bounced for a lower high. The bears are still in complete control. We have not seen 2 solid green days in a row in weeks, and the ACB bears are still standing out for their control. Hourly, weak little bounce at the end of the day. Resistance 373. We will have some hourly resistance to be watching on Monday on these names. So Cron, I swung Cron Thursday. And again, just a little quick recap. I went over in the last video, but I entered Cron on Thursday on this little 5-minute higher low into the end of the day, anticipating that some people would be looking for the potential of some after hours bull movement again. So we got a really nice move into the close that just made me comfortable holding that position over 1% in profit. And then of course, I sold the higher open pre-market. And I say, of course, because if you give me a 4% move and a 2-day maker in extended hours when I'm just looking for an hourly lower high to form and I'm not looking at any kind of breakout and we're in a downtrend on all of these daily charts, you better believe I'm going to take that 2-day maker right away. So I sold at 9.15, and then the second I sold half at 9.15 pre-market right when I was able to, which was right about, there's my order. And then I sold the other half at about 9.08 or so. I gave it a little bit of time and I said, there's not much bid support under 9.06, and I want to lock in that money and start with a fresh, clean slate on the day. And of course, after the first, 10 minutes of trading, that became very clear as the right thing to do. So Cron has lost all bull momentum from those shenanigans, which we still don't have an answer to. Again, I've given my opinion at this point in multiple videos on Midas and on our own YouTube channel. So I'm going to stop speculating as to what it could be. In my opinion, the past is the past. And the fact that it had no follow through means it doesn't matter to me. So we're back to treating it like any other Canadian MJ name. And we're looking now down at 782 and 740 as support, as the bulls are looking for a daily higher low to form, and the efficient market completely wiping out that very unusual move, and tons of shorts jumping back in, tons of bulls taking profit. Red Marabozu candlestick closing at the low of the day with the bears in complete control and need a daily trend change just like everybody else. TLRY, weak bounce attempt, just a daily lower high. Close at the low of the day, we're looking down at 2020 as support. Bulls would have to hold 2020 and break 2273 to shift momentum. Otherwise, we're just going to be looking to a drop to a lower low. And if we do get that lower low, it's a new all-time low on TLRY. So VFF has been one of the weaker names. Why would I have interest in it? Because the bear breaks are seeing no follow through, which shows me a bit of bear exhaustion. So even though it's been weaker than everybody else, it seems the bears are running out of a bit of steam. So we had the low of 684. We dropped down, but we only dropped down by 12 cents. The next time we dropped down below 672, we only dropped down by 4 cents. And then the next time we dropped below 668, we only dropped down by about 15 cents. So it's just something I'm keeping an eye on. It's the potential of a falling wedge. This is the 4-hour time frame for a bit more clarity. And again, whenever I see lower lows without a ton of follow through, that just tells me keep an eye on the potential of a falling wedge. So I would be watching for something along these lines, and I'm using the upper wick. Normally I use the real body of candlesticks, but on this time frame, the upper wick gives the more clear picture in my opinion. So we can very easily see just another lower high on Monday and then fade back down towards the mid $6 range. But it's just something that I'm going to be aware of for the potential of a short-term bull move on VFF sometime early this coming week. We can also be watching the 4-hour exponential 12-period resistance, and hopefully for those of you that are watching this video, you're realizing the power that these 12 and 26 period exponential moving averages can give us just as a visual guide. And again, I took it from the cryptocurrency space where it is the backbone of a ton of my analysis in cryptocurrency, but just every move, rejection, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, pretty much 5 days in a row, maybe 5 out of 6 days, we've rejected from that resistance at the high of the day. So that tells me if we're going to get over that resistance, that the odds of this falling wedge breaking bullish would increase significantly. So again, just something to be keeping an eye on. The weekly time frame continuing to fade down, not oversold yet. The daily RSI certainly pretty beat up. 4-hour RSI not oversold. So there's nothing screaming at me buy this on Monday, but it is something that I'm going to be paying attention to. Hexo, we're just looking for a daily lower high to form. 308 was resistance. We got up to 301. Pulling back here, if we break the low of Friday on Monday, if 268 breaks, that means our lower high has been set at 301, and we shift our focus back down to the low of 228, which the bulls would need to hold to then try and change the trend. Very nice oversold bounce, but the bears still have complete control of the trend. OGI has a ton of space to work with for the higher low. So if I just look at every name that we just looked at and said who is most likely to give us a daily higher low, OGI is the answer. Because again, just space. I forget who we just looked at, maybe ACB that had 7% room. We've got 24, 25% of space to pull back. We still have a pattern of a higher low every day for the last 6 days in a row. That has to break for us to be looking for the daily higher low to form. So we're not even getting signs of daily consolidation yet, like we are on CGC and all these other names. Bears would have to break 347 on Monday. If we see that happen, we look for the higher low compared to 271. And right now, 380 is our short-term resistance. VGW. So VGW left this up because we were looking for a 4-hour equilibrium. And again, I drew this. When did I draw this? Thursday. So at that point, we only had this showing 3 red candles and 3 green candles. We anticipated a lower high and then a pullback to try for a higher low just because of the distance required and the V-shaped nature of this volatility. So high, low, lower high is now 339, and we're going to be looking for a higher low to try and form compared to 315. That's the most important support level on Monday. If it's a bear break, we are then in a 4-hour downtrend, which means we are then looking for a daily higher low to try and form compared to 270. So 4-hour equilibrium for the most clarity, and if it breaks bearish, we zoom out to the daily, and we watch for the bulls to try for a daily higher low compared to 270. Labs is still holding on for these bulls. Anything on the daily chart above 372 is a higher low, and the bulls have been bouncing on labs longer than most other individual names, but we know we're just looking for a weekly lower high, anything under 549, which is a long ways away. Daily time frame, if we do see it's a pretty much 2 daily inside bars in a row, not exactly, but close enough for me to treat it that way. If they break bearish, we have to hold 373 for a daily higher low to form, and if we break bullish, we're looking up at 462 as a resistance level. So that's where we stand. Again, bears in complete control still. As long as we're in daily downtrends, that's going to remain the case. Burden of proof is on the bulls to form daily higher lows and then see continuation. The S&P 500 is going to be a factor. The S&P 500 may continue to stay in its weekly equilibrium through the rest of the month, which would mean more pullback this coming week if that were going to be the case. FOMC and the broader market reaction to that monetary policy on October 30th will definitely have our attention. Other than that, bears comfy, bulls skeptical, and waiting for that daily trend change. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend. We'll see you soon.